Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Blue Tennis Replay Shoutcast. Today we'll have a follow-up of the series between Sam and Abiohia. So if you guys didn't see the first game, I advise you to just stop this one, go back, watch the first game, because I'll be referring to this one on occasion. Now, since we already know both players from the first game, you can skip those introductions and go straight to the map. The map for today is Ruins of Ruin. You guys are probably fairly familiar with this map. It suffered some changes. As you can see, the strategic point is slightly changed. As before, it would disconnect pretty much the entire left-hand side of the map for the Wehrmacht player, and would have a different extension. While at this point now, one munitions point disappeared from this area. There's a new strategic point here to connect this fuel point and this fuel point instead of having another strategic point here. That obviously will favor the Wehrmacht in the sense that the American player will not be able to decap a strategic point very far away from the Wehrmacht base, which before was a total nightmare. We can see now both players going for the standard opening again, Pioneers and Volk Wehrmacht quarters. We can see Abiohia going for Riflemen and Engineers. Abiohia is slightly behind in camping, surprisingly, but I suppose that might be due to the Engineer rush towards this side. However, he will meet up with those Pioneers and we will have an engagement right away. Now let's see how this engagement goes, and Pioneers engaging Engineers. The Engineers already in heavy cover. Pioneers going about in the heavy cover as well. Engineers are losing the battle so far. Volks are coming around, so they might just shift the battle. Riflemen are not coming about to help the Engineers, and MW will have to retake those Engineers. So well done by Sam, winning that early engagement, allowing him to capture this fuel point, and having the Volks free to run around and probably go for capturing this victory point. Riflemen, however, are going for the top victory point, apparently, after capturing this middle munitions point, which is not actually that much important, but I'm sure that Abiohia has a strategy for it. Victory point already captured by the Pioneers, which will freed upon the entry of Riflemen towards the field of action. We can see now Abiohia not quite sure about where to go with his Riflemen, as you were able to see, and is actually floating quite a bit of manpower with 300. It might just have heard me because he's now producing a Rifleman. Nice to see that. We can see Sam not floating any manpower, however, and he's already halfway through a Volk, whereas Abiohia is still pretty much at the start. So Sam might actually even make his early advantage slightly stronger from that, not just winning that early engagement, which you guys might not think was actually that much important, but it was, because it allowed him to have this fuel point, and with this fuel point alone, and with this side, the Wehrmacht is able to keep itself in the game for a very long time. Volk's now high though, not nice to see that at all, but Abiohia, we are going to do some work on decapping this munitions point, which is now a medium munitions point, to compensate for not having two munitions there. Volk and Pioneer engaging this Rifleman, which is running away because, as you know, one Pioneer and one Volk just too much for one Rifleman alone to handle. More Volks coming about, so we can see that even though the map was changed, Sam is clearly going for the Volk spam strategy, which is actually quite a pity because I was very curious to see how an MG would play out with the current changes. Nonetheless, Volk spam it is, and we'll have to deal with it. Now, Rifleman is being engaged by 3 Volks, so I'm not sure why he's not retreating his Rifleman. He's retreating, but he's down to 3 squad members already. That's 2 squad members, in fact, and the other 2 are nearly dead. So that's a lot of casualty stake. That's going to drain his manpower a little. Whereas Sam, I believe he hasn't lost any manpower whatsoever thus far. Rifleman, however, going for the decapping deck sector. However, that sector is fairly unimportant in this one. As you can see, it's not actually connecting anything, especially after Abiohia deconnecting and capturing that munitions point. Sam, however, going for this strategic point. Then again, not that much important to go for this strategic point, and I'm not sure whether these few players have already set their minds into the new layout of the game. As you can see, it seems like they're still playing on this map as if it wasn't changed at all. As it would make more sense to use these blocks to go decap this area, or even this fuel, instead of actually persisting on the strategic point right outside the base, which is relatively important. VAR is now research and flamers coming about towards the vault, but they already have the cover, so they're going to be able to take out that engineer squad. Boom! Engineer squad down. Both sides are forced to retreat by 3 riflemen approaching with VARs. Nice little Frankish shame, however, that he lost those engineers. Nice to see the MG, however. So we can see now Sam with 4 bolts, 2 pioneers, and 1 MG, whereas Abiohia with 4 riflemen and 1 engineer. He had another flamer engine, oh, very nice little suppressing the 3 riflemen forced to get out of the field, and just like that, Abiohia loses his advantage gained from that very nice engagement just a few seconds ago. As Sam is going to be able to put his vault back in the field, and he's going to be able to push up with that MG a bit more, and with only this rifleman on the field, is not going to be able to do as much decapping as it would have been with all other riflemen combined. We can see another MG here, so Sam is actually going for a very extended T1 with 2 MGs and 4 volts already. If Abiohia actually decides to go for the T3, if Abiohia actually decided to go for the T3, as in the last game around, he would probably have been able to nab quite a nice little advantage. However, as the map does have a fair amount of munitions, the Hulk would probably be able to fast the T17 or the M8 to death rather easily. So, safe choice, GRs, always good. Rifleman finally decaptured Light Sniper, took them quite a long time. Engineers not trying to cut this wire, but bolts already in the middle of the field, decapping that victory point, decapping that munitions point, and the bunker going up for Sam as he tries to put himself into this game with a strong foothold, and that bunker is definitely going to do it for him. 2 volt coming about to this sector, definitely going to try to do some work in Rifleman, but they are already inside the building, so the Volk are not going to be having a easy time at all against them. They, however, engaged engineers first. Nice little decision. The engine might actually get taken out, and engineers go down. You can't actually say he was lucky as the engineers were already very low health. So, nice maneuver from Sam, ignoring the rifleman, all that fuel, and just simply going for the weakest unit and doing some more manpower damage. You can see Abiohia already with another engineer squad, and going for flameless armor, very good decision, as you have a lot of green cover on this map, and a lot of buildings, flamers tend to really turn the tide for you. You can see the MG now going for garrisoning that bunker, I believe. Yes, and just in time to catch those riflemen out. Roots now lid for the part1 as well. Another MG covering that approach, so all of these rifles are going to get suppressed, and they're forced to retreat. Very nice maneuver from Sam, forcing 3 more riflemen to retreat from the field, as this rifleman has just been idling here for way too long. I like to see him here taking that up rifleman out of the building, and actually going for more decapping, or at least trying to engage as well. Another bunker going up for Sam. Not entirely sure if he might be going for another medic bunker, considering it's so close to the American base. He might actually be trying to go for an MG bunker. This is trying to keep the American grid from actually recapturing the strategic point right outside of his base. Then again, that strategic point not as much important. So not entirely sure that investment would pay off, although it would help a lot securing this approach.
Supply lines are broken.
And Joey now rolling at something. Not entirely sure what. Maybe at his misfortune so far. Mine's being laid very nice. Very nice place to place in mind that it is a high traffic area. A nice little wall coming around. We want the flamer and 3 riflemen. However, the riflemen leave a lot of casualties. We are already at the 9-minute mark, and we haven't seen any triage being built. Instead of monopole, so Abiohia is actually going to try to go for a T3 approach after going for VARs. You can say that it's safe to some extent, as you would expect a Drama player to get a T3 by now. So having the ability to build riflemen right on those guys, and they're going to be forced to retreat. And with only 2 rifles on the field now, the remaining Volk should be able to stand up against them, or at least harass them enough to not be obliterated. Medics are already trying to do their job. where we can see medics like extremely fast. There is another patch note for you guys if you don't know. The medics now have 60 health rather than the 120 as before. Rifleman attacking the boat. Not entirely sure if any of you should be doing this as the rifle, as the medics are definitely going to try to capture as many zombie-like Hulk as they possibly can. Although they did manage to hit the medics, so nice thing because then again the engine now doing some suppression on the Rifleman and it forces them to repeat once more. These 17, however, are already engaging the Hulk, which are now pulling back. I would be looking into Sam trying to class this 17 as 2 volts will nearly kill it. And one pass goes away. Really trying to pass it again. He's letting this wolf stand behind. Probably to try to pass it again. At least try to split it to 17 off. Let's see if he actually has munitions for it. He does not have enough munitions for the other pass. Ladies and gentlemen, then he's fine. He pulled that out of the bolt's back. He kept one there, just trying to split it to 17 off with the possibility of another pass. But then he just retreated the other one as he knew that he couldn't do anything with it. Kimball's got doing some very heavy casualties on this PR rifleman, which were already very low on health. The triage would have saved this rifleman and possibly even make them win this engagement. So again, already on 11 minutes into the game and no triage being built at all. Same as the previous game, although for the exception of actually having VARs this time around. Oh, but now triage finally going up at pretty much 11 and a half minutes. But now that D3 for Sam is finally up, and he does have enough fuel and does have enough manpower to get whatever he likes. He's getting to obviously trying to counter the T-17. Not going to be easy if he forces runs, so the T-17 might actually be able to escape from it several times and time again. However, from this kind of houses, all these really, really narrow corridors, the Stuck is definitely going to have an advantage as it's not going to be so easy to surface safe. Volks still trying to scare out this T-17, however, not very successfully at all. And, ooh, T-17 really being taken up. And for you guys, if you don't know, that's not a bug, that's not the 5% bug. That's the standard health increase for a T-17, which we're now only there to 3 fast. Because he's also going for the decapping on this side, and if Sam manages this, then Abiohia is going to be without any fuel whatsoever except for this very much unimportant low fuel point. And with that extra fuel point, and with those mines now being laid, Sam is definitely looking into some very, very solid possibility of spamming as many streets as he like. I like to see him getting a Q now, though, just to help the folks at game2's players. We are looking very angry, especially now with the 300 health is at full, and they easily force those folks to